Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the T.H.O Movie Reviews podcast, the show where we bring you passionate, honest, and insightful film criticism. I'm your host, Bennett Campbell Ferguson. I'm joined by two of my wonderful colleagues, starting with Maxwell Meyers.
It's a pleasure to be here at this podcast.
And Mo Shaunette.
I am also here.
And I just feel bound to note that although we just recorded our podcast about our favorite films of 2018, Max really wanted to pretend this is a different day. So
You're ruining the magic, Ben.
But why don't we just say it's a different day?
It's a different day.
It's a different day.
It's definitely not during the Snope apocalypse.
We're not at the Rose City Coffee Company again.
No, never.
Actually, we are, just in case they want to sponsor us.
Then we are there.
We are definitely there, but on a different day.
Well, we are here on a different day to talk about the Oscar nominations. This is part 2 of T.H.O.'s Oscar podcast. And we're going to do a little analyzing, a little predicting. I don't know about you guys, but I'm going to do a little whining, as is my tradition.
Bitch and complain.
Absolutely.
Gotta love it.
But let's start with...
That's our right as
Best
critics,
picture.
right?
It is. That's part of the job description.
It's like with the joy. It's like I get to actually bitch about how I'm feeling.
Well, let's get to the bitching, man. Of Best Picture, Black Panther, Black Klansman, Bohemian Rhapsody, The Favorite, Green Book, Roma, A Star Is Born, Vice. As I said in the previous part of this podcast, there's some good here, there's some bad here, and there's some real ugly here.
Wow. So mean to these critically lauded films. You don't care who's popular.
Vice and Bohemian Rhapsody aren't even that critically lauded.
That's fair.
They're really
They
not.
were very mediocrely. They were very lukewarm.
They're not great.
I mean, so this is a really hard year to predict because the top SAG award went to Black Panther, the top PGA award went to Green Book, the top DGA award went to Roma. It's this may not come through, and you have to take this with a grain of salt coming from me, since I'm the idiot who last year said there was no way Get Out could lose Best Picture.
What did I say? I think I said I would like to see Get Out win, but I know it's not going to happen. Like, it sounds nice. I think I actually predicted he'd get the writing.
I don't remember what I predicted.
I think, but bottom line, I think
I'm not good at it.
We are bad at remembering our own opinions, apparently.
It's been a while,
The
man.
point is, I think even though it's a little bit shaky, I think this is Roma's to lose. I mean,
That seems like the safest bet, but also for everyone, there's like something off about it.
It's too well loved. Don't you hate when that happens?
there's so my personal prediction is Black Panther, or at least that's my hope. But it seems like there is no safe bet in this list. Like, the safest bet is probably A Star Is Born, if anything, but it's not terribly interesting compared to everything else.
well, and also I think like going beyond like kind of the quality of certain movies. Like, A Star Is Born has really lost momentum.
It stumbled.
Best Actress for Lady Gaga at the SAG Awards. That was a must-win to keep that movie going after it kind of got washed out at the Golden Globes, and it didn't. Glenn Close won, and I haven't even talked to anyone who liked The Wife. I
haven't talked to anyone who's seen The Wife, but that's because I don't hang out with 65-year-old white ladies.
I saw the interview with Glenn Close about The Wife on Stephen Colbert, where I saw a 15-second clip that explained absolutely nothing. But they did play a fun game called...
by that 15-second clip?
No, what I was impressed with, though, was the game they played called Up Close with Glenn Close, where they give each other situations and they have to act with only their face. She's actually really good at it.
I believe it.
I was actually I was like, actually, that's accurate. That's perfect. I was more impressed with that, but I still haven't seen The Wife. I would give her an Academy Award for that segment. It was fun.
I would give her an Academy Award for being Glenn Close. But,
Which I feel like that's going to happen, but that's we'll get to Best Actress later.
Yeah. I think I agree. I think it does feel like Roma's to lose. I feel like the upset could be Black Panther, but also at the same time, you could also argue that that a bunch of these movies that seem so diversified and loved by so many people in different ways. Like, I feel like there are people who love Black Klansman. I know there are people who love Green Book and people who absolutely love A Star is Born. I feel like there's enough separation there that it could end up into the mediocre category, and we could have a situation like Spotlight. Where it was like
best picture, best director split.
Yeah, but just also
That's possible.
Well,
It does
Spotlight was
happen a lot.
just agreeable. Like,
yeah, I think that was the
safe
thing.
bet.
I think it was. I think people were like, "Dude, I don't want to give it to Mad Max," or like everybody was like, "Go into Mad Max," and people were like, "Or this," and then I think
I don't think
Spotlight just got the crowd pleasing award.
I don't think people wanted it to go to The Revenant, because that was also that year.
Well,
just because it's like,
I
does
think-
Iñárritu need any more of an ego boost?
Well, and I think they recognized that the directing was good, but or no, they didn't give him the director.
He did
They
get
did,
director.
yeah.
Oh, yeah.
He
They were like,
got director,
well done.
actor, and cinematographer.
Oh, they're like, "Well done, you created a beautiful film, but your movie was still kind of boring."
Before we get back to 2019, I mean, here's what I'd say about that. I mean, I love The Revenant. You know, I think that movie is an absolute masterpiece. But I mean, needless to say, it was not universally beloved. I mean, a lot of people not only dislike it, but really, really loathed it. And I think it didn't quite have broad enough appeal to get the top prize. I mean, Mad Max Fury Road. I mean, let's tell it like it is. That movie was just too cool to win Best Picture. And so that leaves
like a TI is.
that left Spotlight, which I like Spotlight. A lot of people like Spotlight. It was kind of it was.
You know how I feel about Spotlight,
I know
Ben.
how you feel about Spotlight.
I don't know how you feel about Spotlight.
I think it's too mediocre, and I feel like it's a mystery movie. It's a movie trying to be a mystery film where there's really no mystery because
we know
really
the answer.
like we know what's going to happen. It's more interesting to see what came up before it all happened, but at the same time it's like pretending to be like we don't know where it's going. I'm like, yeah, we do because we all lived it.
Well, I like Spotlight quite a bit actually, but it's not cinema with a capital C in the way that Mad Max and The Revenant are.
I don't know.
That's the only. I don't have an issue with the movie. I had an issue with it winning the most exalted prize in Hollywood.
Well, and I think
that's
whether
the issue for me.
yeah, because
personally.
whether it's good or bad, like what says is like someone's gonna go back and go, what did the people say was the best picture that year? And if you look up best picture of 2019, whether you want it or not, what's gonna come up is what wins the Academy Awards. And
Yeah,
and I feel
absolutely.
at the very least, I think we should strive to not just go with what is maybe the easiest to love, but sometimes the hardest to talk about, like Moonlight or 12 Years a Slave. Or sometimes it's just something that says something we all believe in.
Yeah, well, Moonlight and 12 Years a Slave, what those movies, among other things, what they have in common is aside from the fact that they both won, is that they're both ambitious, challenging films that reach for the stars. And I wish all the Best Picture winners did that, but they don't. And I mean, I think it's interesting you guys bring up Black Panther. That I think I did a little ranking. I ranked these Best Picture nominees from my favorite to my least favorite. Roma's my favorite. Black Panther's my second favorite. I really wish I could believe Black Panther had a chance, but I think that I still think even though the Academy has changed and we have a very different group of voters than we had a decade ago, I still think there's a real resistance to comic book movies and superheroes. I think there's a lot of snobbery.
Genre film.
Yeah, to genre films in general, for sure.
I think there's too much old guard still.
Yeah, that would be my questioning for Roma is just the fact that because it is a foreign language film, I feel like it's probably going to win there and maybe get director, but that might be enough. And quote unquote, you know what I mean?
Yeah, that's the weird theory. We gave him that one award.
Yeah, and also you're trying to. The Academy has always been a political machine. It's trying to appeal to a wide masses. It's gonna be tougher to do that with a foreign language film. But also the fact that a lot of members of the Academy are definitely old guard and they resent Netflix because it is quote unquote killing the theatrical experience, which that's a whole other issue that I do not have the information to get into. But that sort of resistance to that distribution model and that resentment of it could hamper its chances.
I see what you're saying, and I think you bring up some really excellent points. But I feel like, obviously there are things working against Roma, specifically the things you mentioned. But I have to say, I feel like it may have the least amount of things working against it of the 8 nominees.
That or Black Panther.
Well, let's go through the list. Black Panther. I mean, honestly, the fact that it's a franchise movie,
it's a genre movie.
It does hurt it in the eyes of the Academy.
Well,
then you have Black Klansman. I think, and that's a very popular film. I just don't sense that it has the momentum. And then you have Bohemian Rhapsody. Honestly, I think Bohemian Rhapsody is terrible.
It's not great, and also there's the whole who directed Bohemian Rhapsody question.
There's that too, and then the Favorite. I mean,
Favorite's a little too kinky.
The Favorite is freaky. I mean, that's way too freaky and kinky for the Academy.
That's freaky and kinky, baby.
that's some stuff right there. Really good, but
it's a good movie. Yeah,
it's a little out there.
Green Book, I mean, aside from my sentiment, which is, please God, don't let Green Book win. I just think
tell us how you really feel, Ben.
the bottom line, too many controversies.
Yeah.
On so many different levels.
I haven't seen Green Book. I will at some points because they brought it back for the academies, and I can see it at a Regal Theater for free, and I'm not going to pay to see it at Living Room. Excuse me, but just the fact that Don Shirley's family has spoken out against it. The fact that it feels like another white savior narrative. The fact that that the director Peter Farrelly, was it?
Yeah, Peter
that
Farrelly.
He's kind of got named in the Me Too movement.
Yeah, exposed himself to Cameron Diaz.
And the fact that that's a movie that's about racism, that's sort of both sidesing kind of centrism in the same year, as something as things as I will say bold or borderline revolutionary. Maybe that's overpraising it, but as Black Klansman and Black Panther, and also other stuff that didn't get nominated, like Blind Spotting, like
which is brilliant.
Sorry to Bother You, like The Hate You Give, like just these other movies that speak to that are made by Black filmmakers that sort of speak to these other things in a more astute and very focused way.
I do have a question. I really this year kind of has been I've said it actually not just here about the Academy Awards but also about the Grammys, which Black Panther's up for album of the year for the soundtrack. It's
right.
I mean, there's a lot of stuff, so many great things going in it, and I think so many people recognize how great it is. But do you think what will stop them is the same thing as Mad Max, which is they all recognize that it's a great film, they love everything about it, but what will stop them is that it's quote unquote too cool? It's so great that you're this great. It's so awesome that you're this, put together. Unfortunately, you're still a comic book film, and this is still the Academy.
When was the last time, this is hugely subjective, obviously, but when was the last time a cool, quote unquote, movie won Best Picture? I feel like Shape of Water would qualify.
I don't know. It's still. I think the fact that it still deals with the kinky fish sex, it still puts it as an outsider a little bit. Guillermo del Toro always tries to keep himself there. Yeah. I think it's just the easiest likable Guillermo del Toro film. I think it's the most successful.
It is pulling from genre films because it's our take on.
Would it be Birdman? No,
I did not like Birdman.
Not that I was well loved, but I feel like a lot of people are like, this movie's so cool, because of the long shot.
That's ambitious. That's the same reason The Artist won. I think is just because they mimicked this style and they made this up. But it's
I would say La La Land almost won. That was almost a popular choice. For a second, it was.
To quote, a Daredevil in one of the Brian Michael Bendis runs almost doesn't count.
Yeah, so I think maybe I don't know if we'll ever see the cool kid win Best Picture. I don't know if we'll ever get I think if we ever got a movie that felt like how Jessica Jones feels, Like that one,
it's-
that thing
yeah.
I know plenty of people who haven't watched any piece of the Marvel movies who heard about Jessica Jones and what it was about and made it a point to see it, and it became super successful.
Like it's superhero noir stuff, but also it's very much about trauma and survival of trauma and
PTSD,
rape culture, all this stuff.
It does so much more than just be a superhero film. In fact, you have a character who's trying her hardest to not be any kind of hero at all.
Yeah.
So, but I mean, I think that is the kind of comic book film that we'll have to see happen to maybe take that kind of throne.
I mean, it's tricky because Logan and The Dark Knight were that, really. I mean, and The Dark Knight, had the kind of the 5 Best Picture slots restriction working against it, but Logan didn't have that. I just think there's a really entrenched bias against the genre. I mean, going on down the list, I mean, we talked about how A Star Is Born has really been losing momentum.
Yeah.
And then Vice, I mean, Vice is awful.
Vice
frankly.
does not hold together.
It's just a bad movie, and I think
Can't comment because I have not seen it. But I'm hoping to see
save
it.
yourself the time.
But it's not just that.
Although if you want to get into the conversation, then
I
can
love
see why
to
you
talk.
want. Yeah.
it's not just that, but it's sort of. I don't see. I say the Academy is political, but I don't know like where sort of it leans in terms of something that's explicitly character assassination. Or at least a defamation against someone. I know they definitely go for the positives. They'll go for like Moonlight, which is like pro-black, pro-gay, pro-intersectionality. But then you got Vice, which is 2 hours and X minutes of a middle finger to Dick Cheney, which it's not unwarranted.
No.
But at the same time, that seems like a little too explicit, a little too mean-spirited and pointed and negative for the Oscars.
Yeah.
And also, did we really need an entire movie to remind us that Dick Cheney was not great?
We did not.
I mean, I
Like, I don't think anybody was sitting here going, oh man, Pence is terrible, but you know who was great? Cheney. Remember that way he shot a guy in the face on accident, quote unquote?
Here's what I'd say about that movie. I personally wouldn't call it character assassination.
Yeah, that's probably not the right word. It's
Character homicide?
But I think I mean, it is worth noting. Do you mind if I spoil the mid-credit scene?
Spoil the mid-credit scene? You mean spoil things that probably already happened?
no. This was definitely entirely constructed for the movie.
Okay.
But it's
So-
metaphorical.
Yeah.
Okay, go for it, I guess.
So the mid-credit scene is
Which
they're
pissed
in.
me right the fuck off.
Pissed me off too. So you have a group of people who it's like a test audience that has just
a
saying
focus
the movie-
group.
Yeah, a focus group, and they
And
some.
this is a call. Like earlier in the movie, we have a focus group. They show like a focus group of, call like what they're going to call the invasion of Iraq. So it's like Operation Iraqi Freedom or the War on Terror or whatever. And we cut back to them in the mid-credit scene.
Yes, and so one guy says, something's bothering me this whole movie. The whole thing's liberal. It has a liberal bias. And this guy obviously seems like a moron. And then you get a guy who's like, looks like his hair is kind of disheveled. He looks like sort of a smart professor type.
He's like this lanky dude with glasses and like long hair. He looks like an ex-hippie, basically.
And he says, well, it's all true. They had to vet it. You're saying, because I have the ability to understand facts, that makes me a liberal. But the thing is, in my opinion, the liberal guy, they portray him as the only sane person in the room, and the Trumper they portray as like a total brain dead moron. And then at the end they have these two guys fighting, and this one woman looks at her friend and says, I can't wait to see the new Fast and Furious movie, kind of giving this dopey unsubtle message. It's like, you're all too busy watching movies, you don't understand what's going on.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
And it's like, you
just
what?
made this movie for me to watch it. Now you're criticizing me for seeing it?
It's like, forgive me for not wanting to be lectured by some rich guy who made his name, making films like Anchorman and Talladega Nights. And, I am, a liberal. I do agree with a lot of what Adam McKay is saying in the film, but I really don't think any filmmaker has the right to be that condescending to his audience,
I mean, there's the difference is like I keep this I said this before on Facebook, but I really liked The Big Short.
I love The
great
Big
film.
That movie
Yeah,
holds
yeah.
up in a big bad way for me, even though I haven't seen it since I saw it the first time in theaters. But it's fresh, it's strong in my mind like that.
It's a movie that every time I think about it, I think I would really love to see that again.
Yeah, and Vice uses the same the same sort of rhetorical storytelling devices as in The Big Short. You know, so there's scenes where there's completely non-diegetic, where they'll use metaphor or fake outs or whatever to like explain these ideas of like this is what Dick Cheney and what he did during the Bush administration. And the problem is with The Big Short, that works because the mortgage crisis was legitimately like confusing.
And
Yes,
terrifying.
yeah.
Like no one, like it feels like we're dealing with big abstract ideas. Like I did not know what like subprime mortgages were,
Nor
or like
did I.
what shorting the mortgage market meant. Like this is financial stuff that is above my pay grade, basically. So you do need Margot Robbie in a bubble bath to explain it. Versus Vice, it's not like. Dick Cheney is not an absurd figure, you know. He's everything they show him doing in the movie. It's very logical. It's very straightforward. It's very cold cut. So it's like, oh, he took a bunch of his guys who are loyal to him, and he put them in positions all over Washington, so he could get information he wasn't necessarily privy to, so that he could do all these things, all these shady things.
And at the same time, they never like adequately explain how he became smart enough to kind of rig this whole political chess game. It's almost like he just starts doing this stuff, and it's like, well, we don't see like how he became that person.
It's implicit that he was like, just because he learned this at the feet of Donald Rumsfeld.
But I feel like, and that's another problem with the movie is like all this. Each scene is like so like short and choppy and fragmented. Yeah. Like everything is kind of a cursory glance, and
there's definitely a lot of like, do you get it moments where they talk about the invasion of Iraq, and they show news clips of people who are now big political figures in their own right. So of Mike Pence, of Hillary Clinton, of people talking about it. There's a scene where like Dick Cheney's having like, and his cabal are having like their secret evil meeting about how they're gonna make the war in Iraq happen. It's like, well, what about emails? There's a paper trail there. It's like, we'll use a private server and then delete everything. It's like, get it? Do you get it? Because this is a thing that happened, and you were worried about it.
Adam McKay, we have to move on to
I was going to say, I was like,
but
when did this become a podcast about Vice?
Maybe we should have done a podcast about Vice.
There's a lot to talk about for sure.
I honestly thought we might do like a worst films of the year, because I have so much to say on Fantastic Beasts: The Crimes of Grindelwald. But
oh boy,
I still haven't seen that.
Oh my God!
You don't need to.
Please continue.
Before we move on,
Yeah.
I will say one more thing about Vice, which is that, you know, Adam McKay, in a profile in the New York Times Magazine, he said, you know, things have gotten so extreme in the world. Why bother being subtle anymore? And
That's fair.
And I see what he's getting at, but then at the same time,
Not like this.
yeah, I mean, like, you know, why bother being subtle? Because the alternative is making a movie like Vice that blatantly insults the audience intelligence. And
Absolutely.
I mean, that's
So wait, what is everyone's prediction for Best Picture?
Roma.
My guess, I would say either it's somewhere. I'm bad at predicting these. I don't think I've ever gotten it right. But my hope for this is Black Panther. I would say it's between Roma, Green Book, and Black Panther are probably the top three.
I like that.
All right. Moving on, we're gonna do actor/supporting actor. So
We're doing the dudes.
For actor in a leading role, Christian Bale for Vice, Bradley Cooper for A Star Is Born, Willem Dafoe for At Eternity's Gate, Rami Malek for Bohemian Rhapsody, Viggo Mortensen for Green Book, and then for supporting actor, Mahershala Ali for Green Book, Adam Driver for Black Klansman, Sam Elliott for A Star Is Born, Richard E. Grant for Can You Ever Forgive Me, Sam Rockwell for Vice. I'm just going to start this off by saying something that I think a lot of people think is heresy, but I'm going to say it anyway. I don't even think Rami Malek's that good in Bohemian Rhapsody. I think his British accent's kind of terrible, but maybe that's just me.
I just think he's gonna get it, not because
I think he'll get it.
Like,
Don't
I
get
think-
me wrong. I think he will
again,
win
and
because he's
I'm
got
not
the
saying-
momentum.
I don't even think he did haven't seen it, but I'm willing to bet you he doesn't do a bad job. But I mean, I think it's just out of all the options, you're just like, I guess Rami Malek. Like, I would not. I think everybody was thinking Bradley Cooper, but I think we've all discussed about how Star is Born
Like,
is.
he's not the strongest part of that movie.
See, the only thing I can see happening is them giving it to him because they're upset that, you know, he didn't get the director nod. But I feel like more people were upset about Affleck not getting his director nod. That I don't think
for
it's
Argo.
for Argo. That I think that I don't think he has even that angry momentum.
And A
to,
Star is Born, that's not even a good performance. I mean, that stupid faux Sam Elliott voice. I understand why he did it. I understand why the choice was made. But I mean, the rest of us had to sit through that for 2 hours, and it was really distracting and annoying.
If it was just him and there was no Sam Elliott character, I think I would be in the same boat. I was like, hey, you know what? There's a reason. I don't like it, but it's fine. It's fine enough. This is the whole thing about A Star is Born, which I was saying before the podcast, is that I don't think it's a bad movie. I just don't think it's the best movie of the year.
No.
And as I said before, I could have done a lot more things with 2.5 hours that I probably would have enjoyed more. Do I regret that I saw it? No, I had a great time with you guys. That was fun, and it was also fun. I always have a great time deconstructing even the worst movies with you.
Totally.
But do I think it was the best picture of the year? Not even close.
No way. I do want to whine a bit here. I think it's a crime that Ethan Hawke was not nominated for First Reformed. I think I haven't. The only one of these I haven't seen is Eternity's Gate, but I think he was better than everyone else who was nominated.
Anyone saw Eternity's Gate.
I just I love the love for Willem Dafoe, but I also know that I'm like, he's not going to get it, but I'm glad you like it.
Just as he didn't get it last year.
Yeah.
He's always, it's very, Willem Dafoe is one of those people who's like, oh, he's in this, he is always reliable, he's always going to do a good job. Like there's like 2 really dumb genre movies that he's been in, and that is Death Note, the American remake of Death Note, and Aquaman. And he works because he's kind of got this hamminess to him that's a little ridiculous, and it's like, yeah, I know I'm in a dumb genre film, so I can be a little silly here.
He's also
You have to forget the teachings of the surface world.
Yeah, but also he has this interesting face shape and head shape and these certain features that actually, weirdly enough, I was like, yeah, I believe he could be a fish man.
I do. It's true.
And also, weirdly enough, I think the Death Note creature that the one picture I see of his face the most, it's very rectangular in shape, and he also has a rectangular shape. I could actually see Willem Dafoe being a creepy Death Note monster.
He's so good. He's the best part of that movie. That movie's a piece of crap, and he's just having so much fun in it.
He's just good at being a creep. I would really love to see. Weirdly enough, I didn't like A Star is Born, but I would really love to see Sam Elliott win. I actually liked his character in that movie.
Yeah, he did a good job.
Out of everyone there, I would say I liked him the most, and also. I think he has a really good shot at winning it. A lot of people were upset when he didn't get the Golden Globe nomination. A lot of people were like, he was snubbed. And then I think enough people in the Academy just like Sam Elliott. They would be willing to give it to him. And I feel like the last year, the last few years, it's been like, what supporting actor has put in their time?
Yeah. Well, I mean, on that note, I feel the way I see things going is, Rami Malek got the SAG Award for Best Actor for Bohemian Rhapsody. I think he'll get the Oscar.
I will say, I do think Bohemian Rhapsody is not a great movie. I think he's phenomenal in that. I love this. I really like this dude. He does a great job in the movie. He's doing a really good impression of Freddie Mercury, but there is, pathos and emotion in it. I like that they actually cast a brown person to play Freddie Mercury. They're like, yeah, he was Indian. People forget that, but that was who he was. And Rami Malek is Egyptian, so it's not a 1-to-1 correlation. But they saw it, and he works it.
I guess the issue I have with Bohemian is and this may not be so much the actor's fault as the film itself, but I think for me, I sort of the whole time I felt like I was watching a bunch of, guys pretending to be these people and not really becoming it. It just, you see them in their wigs and their costumes, and it's it just somehow
you're pretending.
Somehow it never feels like a fit, and maybe that's not their fault. Maybe it's just because the script is so artificial.
Yeah, scripts.
Maybe it's
got some problems.
And I will say this: the one thing is, almost almost everyone who's still alive who was in Queen has checked off on it. They've all been like, yeah, we approve. I mean,
Yeah,
sure,
but,
how much of that is...
the
like,
reason they checked off on it, I think, is because it's so innocuous and bland and designed not to challenge or offend.
The awkward thing about doing biopics about people who are still alive. So we have scenes in Queen of Freddie Mercury having big gay parties while the other members are just sitting in the corner and drinking beer and not cheating on their wives. I'm not accusing anyone of anything. I'm just saying, man.
Just putting it out there.
They're rock stars, man. 80s era rock stars.
I think for supporting, I really feel like this is Mahershala Ali's to lose. I mean, it just seems like he's racking up a lot of awards, and I feel like I feel like like a lot of people, quite understandably, don't want to give Green Book anything. But I feel like if you have to give Green Book something, it should be Mahershala Ali's performance.
At least give it, if you're going to have the mediocre racism movie win anything, at least give the black guy something.
Well, yeah,
because he put in his time.
Yeah.
Let's see. Of the ones I have actually, except for Green Book, I have seen all of these, which is weird. I think, honestly, none of these are really great to me. Again, I haven't seen Green Book, so I feel like he's one who would have like his character actually has a character arc probably in the movie.
I wouldn't call it a good character arc, but it is an arc.
But besides him, I really liked Richard E. Grant in Can You Ever Forgive Me? He's fun. He's super fun in that movie.
I really like Richard E. Grant in general. He's awesome.
And he's just having a ball, and it's and that's infectious. Sam Rockwell in Vice, he's just doing a southern accent.
I want you to be my vice.
I mean, he's fine, but it's very much feels like a caricature of George W. Bush.
Oh, and he already played George W. Bush in The Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy.
Yeah,
very well, I might add.
I'd still say Will Ferrell is still probably the best W we've had.
Oh my gosh, I caught one
he was
from
a great
SNL
W.
the last time he hosted it. Still good.
Yeah, and just You're Welcome America, Final Night with George W. Bush. He did a one-man show on Broadway, and it's phenomenal. And it does. Again, it's funny and silly, but it does end with this note of melancholy because he does admit yes, I do think about the people who have died because of my actions, the people in Iraq who have suffered because I started this war. I do think about that every night, and it's I don't know if that's true or not of George W. Bush, but it does humanize him to some degree.
Yeah. That sounds really powerful. I wish there could have been a moment like what you're describing in Vice.
No,
I think that would have been fascinating.
Because they're just no, Dick Cheney's an evil monster. The end.
Can we briefly talk about perhaps the most egregious snub in this category? And I knew this person was going to be snubbed. I knew it was going to happen, but can we all agree that Michael B. Jordan should have been nominated for Black Panther?
Oh, I would have been so down for that.
Oh my gosh, yeah. I mean, even if there was no chance he was going to win, I think he's one of the most compelling characters. He's the one character everybody... I always hear people go, man, I love Black Panther. Yeah, me too. You know what I love though? What? Eric Killmonger. Yeah, me too.
But
that's the one thing everyone can agree on, that...
But you have a movie of so many talented people, and he's the one who stands out. And they craft this really interesting character, and the scene with him, in the ghost room or whatever, talking to his dad.
Yeah, that's amazing.
And the fact that it's an apartment,
and that it's back to back with him, is this your king? When he kills T'Challa, that's impressive. And I feel like. The other thing is that Michael B. Jordan, he's on the come up. He's got the world is his oyster now, and I feel like he's gonna
do something great.
He'll find his place. They'll make a biopic of someone like I don't know, whatever black icon they haven't made a biopic about yet, I don't know, Medgar Evers or something.
Sure.
And he'll get a nod for that. But yeah, he definitely deserves it for this one.
Yeah.
Shall we move on?
Yes.
Alrighty.
So, final predictions for each?
Yes. I think it's going to be Rami Malek and Mahershala Ali.
Those are my guesses.
I would say Rami Malek's to lose. I would say probably Mahershala Ali, but with a nice upset from Sam, I really think he does have a chance. Whether
there's a lot of love for him.
Whether or not he was better than Mahershala, I cannot say
Mahershala.
Whether or not he was is, neither here nor there. I think but I do think he definitely has a shot if we're talking momentum.
Let's talk original score and original song, if I can find them. Yes, I did find them. Okay, so score. Black Panther, Black Klansman, If Beale Street Could Talk, Isle of Dogs.
Also, Beale
Mary
Street got
Poppins
snubbed.
Returns. Beale Street did get snubbed.
That's the one that bugs me more, is that it did not get picture nomination. It did not get Best Actress for Kiki Lane. What the hell?
And also
director. I would definitely see it getting director.
And by the way, it's better than the majority of the films that got nominated for Best Picture. I mean, it's better than The Favorite, in my opinion. Original song, All the Stars from Black Panther, All Fight from RBG, The Place Where Lost Things Go from Mary Poppins Returns, Shallow from A Star Is Born, When a Cowboy Trades His Spurs for Wings from The Ballad of Buster Scruggs.
I still haven't seen Buster Scruggs.
I haven't either, and I haven't heard a lot of these songs, to be quite honest. So I'm gonna take a roundabout route into these categories and direct a question to you, Mo.
Yes.
I think, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, in your Black Panther review, you had some misgivings about the score, and I wondered if you could talk about like what your thoughts on that are.
I think I will fully admit a lot of it is that it's definitely I think it's just because it wasn't something I'd heard before, and I did not, and so I love Black Panther. There's a lot of praise for it, but a lot of it definitely relies on formula, and I'm not gonna knock it for that. I'm just gonna state that as fact.
Sure.
The score does not. It incorporates like one of the things I talked about earlier with Black Panther is that you hear people talking a lot in these African sounding accents, but they do so in a way that they're not. Most of the time when you hear that in movies, it's usually someone being very serious and delivering. They're like the magical Negro who has to deliver the inspiring speech or the exposition or like the grave warning about the ancient mystic hoodoo or whatever. And with Black Panther, it's like, no, this is just they're talking like friends. They joke on each other. They make gags. They're funny. And
look at those shoes.
Did he freeze? Like antelope in headlights. And that's different. But and the score is also like they're definitely pulling from more African sounds from tribal drums and stuff like that. And the one moment that always sticks out to me is at the end when, spoiler alert for a movie that made $1 billion and that you would probably definitely have seen by now.
If you haven't, shame on you. It's on Netflix. It's so easy to see it at this point. Everybody loved it.
But it's the moment when Killmonger dies and they like zoom out and there's that like African chant in the background and that just kind of threw me off. But honestly, it's definitely ambitious and different, and I respect it for that. So I think it has a shot. That's my guess for these two categories. I feel like Mary Poppins Returns might get it for score just because it is like deliberately a musical film.
Yeah, it could happen. Yeah,
it's very classic in terms of it's deliberate old Hollywood because it's like remember what you liked about the first Mary Poppins movie. Here's more of that.
Yeah.
And for song, probably Shallow from Star Is Born because I don't know what else Star Is Born is going to get, and that song is honestly pretty solid.
I actually do like that song, and I'm kind of predicting that's the only thing A Star Is Born will get.
Yeah,
unless it
maybe like one of the technical awards.
Yeah.
I would concur. I think, I really think Shallow is. I think it's gonna win only because nobody's gonna vote for Lady Gaga. I think people liked Lady Gaga's performance, but they're also like, it wasn't the best. There's better. Also, she's new and she could win later. But man, could she write that song? And how many people love that song? And I guess it's been playing every day for like the last 3 months. But I would also argue,
I feel like it's that and the Greatest Showman soundtrack, maybe. But I think that's a year old by now.
Yeah. But I think that it's kind of hers to lose at this point. But if she were to lose it, I think she would lose it to All the Stars.
Yeah.
But I also really think that what I really see happening is Shallow will win, and then Kendrick and the composer will win for the score, and that's why. And then Black Panther won't win for Best Picture because they gave it to the score.
Sure.
Yeah.
Which again, that handout, like the dividing.
It best get costume design.
Is it? Oh, it better. Is it up for costume?
It is up for
Oh,
absolutely.
good.
And it better win for that.
I want, that would be my personal pick. I would want to win Best Costume Design. I'm worried they'll go for the favorite just because they love
Technical.
that period,
Yeah, the favorite
Well, I think they all
or
start
Mary
going-
Queen of Scots.
I think they just think it takes more work to make those dresses, which.
But I mean,
but I
it's-
think there's a lot more thought goes into the costumes for
Yeah.
Black Panther. But one last
They're
thing.
definitely more interesting to me, at least.
Yeah, I agree. I think they are more
The
interesting.
one last thing I will say, I really think it should win for score. I think it should win, even if that's all it would win.
I would be happy if it won for score.
Because I think it's a great soundtrack, and it does exactly what the movie does, which is it has that, that African sound that maybe some of us attribute to the continent and that ideal, while also bringing in the Killmonger element, which is American hip-hop. And it's
Yes.
those two things coming together and sometimes maybe clashing a little, or just working beautifully and harmoniously, and it really creates the right tension. And I think it's the only way that it works is by literally having, in a weird way, going, we have someone from movies and someone from hip-hop. We need these two people to create this specific sound, and it can only work that way. And I think it should be rewarded for that.
I think too, it's one thing that works in Black Panther's favor is that it has a score that you can actually hum. Like, I think we've all probably have in our heads right now that like dun 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 dun. Whereas like I think the Beale Street score is great, but at the theater where I work, they've been playing the movie for months now, and I've been cleaning up the theater while that score is playing over the credits. But I still can't really tell you what it sounds like because it's kind of and it's a great story, but it's sort of deliberately kind of
Fades
sort
into
of
the background,
ambient and discordant, and I feel like that might be too bold for the Academy. Maybe I don't know.
Scores are-
I'm not solid. Like I guess I'm leaning toward Black Panther, but I feel like a lot of these are viable contenders.
Yeah, I get the sense that Beale Street's going to get supporting actress for Regina Hall.
Definitely. Yeah.
And maybe adapted screenplay. I got to remind myself what else is nominated there.
I think a winning score really has to kind of do this weird thing where it either becomes so part of the movie that you forget it's there but then when you listen to it, it somehow survives all by itself. I think Gravity's a great example of that. Like, it creates all the tension in that score, while also by itself, like, just listening to it at home, I'm just like transported back there.
Yeah.
And I think, sometimes it's this weird line you have to show where you have to be noticeable enough to stand out, but also perfect enough that you blend in seamlessly as, say, Daniel Day-Lewis flows into Lincoln.
Sure. Yeah.
But also there's always, of course, John Williams getting his annual nomination for whatever he decided, one of his 5 projects he decided to do that year.
Yeah.
Before I make a final score prediction, I think honestly I'm too uncertain to make one today. I know, cop out. I think Shallow is gonna win for song. Do you guys have what are you guys predicting?
Yeah, definitely.
Shallow with a minor upset from Black Panther.
Yeah.
You guys think Black Panther's gonna get scored too?
Maybe it's definitely in the running again.
I think it does. I think it will.
I don't think it's going to Isle of Dogs, if only because it's a little too quirky.
Although
And
I will say,
they've given Alexander Spot 2 Oscars already.
I also will say, I have not watched Isle of Dogs. I've tried twice, and every time I fall asleep. But you know what I say every time I wake up is, wow, that score is really good. It just lulled me into this. It's so minimal and beautiful. I will say it's a great score. I have not finished the movie, but even both times that I fell asleep, I was like, good score though. I don't know how it ends.
Let's move into our final categories, which are I decided to combine 2 categories that both have to do with visuals, which is a bit of a stretch, I know, but we're going to do visual effects and animation. So the nominees for animated feature film are Incredibles 2, Isle of Dogs, Mirai, Ralph Breaks the Internet, and Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse. And visual effects, we have Avengers Infinity War, Christopher Robin, First Man, Ready Player One, Solo, A Star Wars Story. Starting with animation, I definitely think it's Spider-Verse's to lose. I mean, that won at the Annie Awards. But then again, you know, I mean, the Academy does tend to get stuck in their ways. I hate to say this because I think Incredibles 2 is incredibly mediocre, but I think they could go to their Pixar comfort zone and maybe. But I hope
alternatively, Isle of Dogs, even though that one, like it's a standalone. It's from an Academy darling who's
that's true. Yeah.
Who's got
that's a good point.
Somebody they haven't technically given an award to yet.
And it's a murderer's row of talent. It's certainly ambitious in terms of stop motion animation. The problem is the controversy surrounding it about how about the race thing, about how it depicts
Cultural appropriation.
Sure.
Yeah.
And
also it's just it's fine.
I think that's going to work. What will actually end up working against it? I do think the more likely to happen is somebody to go, you know what? I haven't seen any of these, but I really like Pixar, regardless of whatever they've put out. That's what I just see happening because that's sometimes just how some of these people vote because of
I can see that happening
because they're allowed to vote everywhere, but they don't see everything. But I really do think it. I mean, maybe it's just the optimism in me that Spider-Man inspires, but I feel like enough people would say this sentence, which is. Yeah, maybe Pixar's great, but I really love Spider-Man, and I feel like that's when sometimes things become...
Spider-Verse really does... it's very commercial, but it does also feel revolutionary in terms of film, in terms of...
It's beautiful.
In terms of the look of it and the ambition of it. There's the... Excuse me. I read somewhere that, every second of animation took, a week of work to put together.
Really?
Or some ratio like that.
I believe that, given how incredible that movie looks.
Just looking at, the final fight, the climax in the Super Collider, that's insane. And it's amazing that it works as well as it does.
It's psychedelic in a way that, mainstream animated films rarely are.
It's a bunch of really beautiful touches that all come together to create this wonderful tapestry. The comic shading, also that nothing is ever truly in focus 100%. Nothing is 100% in focus in most of the shots. I always feel like when he's in the city, I can see the elements they want me to see, but a lot of stuff is out on the outskirts in a faded way. And I think that's a comment towards life. And also just the little nods. One of my favorite parts is when somebody throws a bagel, gets hit in the head, and the action sound that pops up is bagel. And it's easy to miss. But
the fact that each of the worlds looks different, not just in the obvious ways, we've got the noir world or the anime world or the cartoon world, but also that's Spider-Woman's home. It looks like this kind of prog rock album. All the colors are blurry. There's a lot of neon, and it looks like
the neon.
It's a weird rock concert. We've got classic Spider-Man world, which looks
somehow sad,
sort of normal, kind of
just off slightly.
But then Miles's world, they because he is a street artist, they incorporate graffiti into the look of it.
Right. That's a good point.
There's all these subtle background gags of things that are slightly off about the worlds. There's a background poster of a movie called From Dusk Till Dawn instead of Shaun of the Dead.
and then there's also another version of that same title in a different universe.
Yeah.
I didn't notice that. That's awesome. That's really cool.
It's 3 different versions of Shaun of the Dead.
But there's little touches like that in the background that I love. I don't know if that's going to get it. I honestly feel like Spider-Verse has it because they've won in so many other places. They won it for Golden Globes.
Probably the best reviewed anime film of the year.
Absolutely.
That certainly doesn't hurt. Yeah.
There's one other I've mentioned before, Cinema Blend. They actually put out they're like, this is the best movies of the year based on the reviews given by everybody on staff. And they said that the only way they would include... What they did is they took all the scores and created a median from it, and they said the only requirements were that it had to have been reviewed by at least 3 people, and then they just gave what the app a top 10 based on just how the average of the 5-star rating came out, and Spider-Verse came out at number 1 with a perfect 5-star rating because everybody on the team, which was way more than 3 people who saw it, all agreed that it deserved 5 stars. They said that was the only movie that year that everybody was like 5 stars across the board. And I think that love is represented throughout everyone who's seen it. And I think it has everything to do with the message that we were talking about on our previous podcast.
All right, we're betting on you guys betting on Spider-Verse.
Yeah. I would say the upsets would probably be. I haven't seen Mirai. I don't know if anyone's seen
That's
Mirai.
the problem with
Yeah, I
Mirai.
haven't seen it either.
I would say the upset would either be Incredibles 2 or Isle of Dogs. Just because of Pixar and just because of Wes Anderson.
Yeah, I would agree with that 100%. Like, I guess if Isle of Dogs wins, I'll be surprised, but at the same time, not that surprised.
I will be disappointed.
Yes.
I would be too, and I'm worried Incredibles 2 is going to get it. So, but I sure hope not.
Yeah.
Moving on to visual effects. This is an interesting one, and I feel like the Academy often goes for lack of a better term. You know, I mean, let me rephrase this. Like last year with visual effects, I thought the best of the nominees was War for the Planet of the Apes. I thought Blade Runner 2049 was a better film, but I just thought, what they had to do,
What they created.
What they created with apes, that was more impressive, strictly speaking, in terms of visual effects.
It's ambitious.
It is ambitious. And yet Blade Runner 2049 won, which kind of increased my belief that the Academy will go in terms of visual effects for whatever has the greatest air of prestige.
Oh, yeah.
I think noticed that in a lot of the recent
It does
years.
happen, and which makes me believe that, even though the effects are subtler, I think First Man is going to take this one.
Yeah, that was my guess.
Who else is up for it? We have
Infinity War, Christopher Robin, Ready Player One, and Solo. Definitely not Solo, because no
actually-
one wants to give
see,
Solo an award.
I actually
What awards has Star Wars won in general?
only if they have ever won any, it would be probably for sound or any visual effects or any kind of like honorary award.
I got the answer to this. The original film actually won a ton of awards because it didn't win Best Picture Director, but it won for score, for costume design, for editing, tons of awards in the
Technical
craft
awards.
categories. Yeah, then Empire and Jedi both got special awards for their effects. I don't believe any of the Star Wars films have won since. Obviously,
Correct
nominations.
us in the comments.
Yes, yeah.
So I don't think if we're going to break that streak, it's not going to be with Solo.
No.
Yeah, and
Of all things.
See, and honestly, I really think when you come down to the movies, the list of movies you bring up, the two that I'm if I think of visual effects and the amount of work going into it is Infinity War, Star Wars, and what was the
Ready
one?
Player One?
No.
And Christopher Robin.
No, the one that you actually mentioned.
First Man.
Oh, First Man, yeah.
And that's the thing is, do you really think people are going to go, yeah, I mean, they created a lot of visual effects for Infinity War, but wasn't it basically all visual effects? Why should we award them for that? They basically created a movie out of CGI. You don't think that's worth some kind of award? Because again, that era of comic books, I do think they'll just go, well, then First Man, because Solo wasn't that great.
Yeah, I would say the upsets, First Man is my pick for it. The upset would be Ready Player One. If only, again, it's an Academy darling. It's Spielberg.
Yeah, absolutely.
And it really does look phenomenal, and it makes the most of the unrealistic part of it, where it's CGI will inherently look fake, but it's that works. We're in the virtual world, so
It's
that
meant
makes
to be
sense.
fake. Yeah.
It's how you define. It's the line drawn between fantasy and reality.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I would add too, I mean, a lot of my belief that First Man's going to win just comes from my calculating brain, analyzing. But the Academy has gone for this and this in the past, and there's
Again,
a pattern. But
it's mostly political.
but at the same time, I would also add I do want it to win because I think
It looks
the effects
nice,
are really
yeah.
beautiful. Yeah, and also that's my second favorite film of the year after Destroyer. So I'd like to get something. And while I'm going on a First Man tangent, I just think it's insane
A First
that
Mangent?
a First Mangent. I think it's insane that Justin Hurwitz didn't get nominated for his absolutely beautiful score. And
that seems off.
Yeah, that's a disappointment.
Wait, you know what we passed over before we end up too quickly?
What?
Actress and supporting actress.
Oh, we did that in the. Jim and I did that.
Oh, okay.
So it's a two-parter.
He got half
I see.
the categories. You guys are getting half the
Ooh,
categories.
I like
Okey-dokey.
that. All right, I was wondering. I was like, don't forget about the ladies. We will suffer.
No,
for it.
no. I have not forgotten about the ladies.
Okay, then I'm fine. I'm just worried.
I will say this just about the best lead actress category. I know a lot of people are definitely saying that Elsie Fisher was looked over for 8th grade. She absolutely deserves it. I don't know if you want to put a 15-year-old through the experience of being nominated for an Academy Award, because that
You
sounds
make a
just
really
vicious.
good point.
Just
Yeah,
ask
yeah.
Saoirse Ronan what she thought of it. She was nominated like 13, and then Abigail Breslin at 8.
Or Haley Steinfeld at like what 12?
Jodie Foster.
Britt, yeah.
Jodie Foster, who actually won at like 12 or 13. Like, these are just girls who had to go through the process. Like, they probably were just excited that people were like, it's nice to meet you. Abigail Breslin was like, yeah, it's nice to meet you too. What are we doing here? Like,
Yeah, but no,
Yeah.
she absolutely deserves to be on there, and I think there's a good future for her ahead.
I agree, and
I hope so at least.
I think you bring up like a great point, Mo, about like kind of the sort of I guess the human toll of
Yeah.
like campaigning, and I think especially for a kid, and you look what happened when you know people really ganged up on her on Twitter for praising Bohemian Rhapsody, and she didn't know about any of the allegations against Bryan Singer. She's just a kid, and I think like seeing like what happened when she made just one simple honest mistake that
Which isn't even really a mistake. There's so many people I know who really love Bohemian Rhapsody, and it's not because it's a Bryan Singer film. They just like the story, and they don't know anything about the controversy. And that, I was
Right.
like, and I don't think they're monsters. I just think they really liked. It just seems like one this year's mom movie.
Sure, yeah.
I know a lot of moms who love Bohemian Rhapsody. They're like, that movie was so good. That Remy Malek.
Oh yeah, we get a lot. Bohemian Rhapsody has played at the Fox Tower for a while.
That Rami Malek guy, he's so good. Have you ever seen Mr. Robot? What? No, I don't watch superhero movies.
Oh, I would love to introduce him to Mr. Robot, because he's not a nice fella
What? No.
in that show. He's very good. He's just not playing, nice, fun Freddie Mercury. He's.
Can we see Freddie Mercury as Mr. Robot?
I was
Universe mashup.
a few months ago, like I was after seeing like Won't You Be My Neighbor, I typed in Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood, and my autofill went into Mr. Robot. So now I'm just imagining Mr. Robot's Neighborhood.
By the way, we have to wrap up in a second. But is anyone else mad that Won't You Be My Neighbor didn't get nominated for
Yeah.
Best Documentary?
Like that again. That's one that people actually saw.
Yeah, that I just don't understand, because like it was, and like not only is it a great film, it just seems like it lends itself to the Oscars because it's inspirational.
It's a
powerful. You think,
feel-good.
Isn't that their thing?
I feel like
It takes you on an emotional journey,
It does.
this is the thing. Is I actually recently compared,
and it's about the value of entertainment.
Yes. Yeah.
I actually attributed this more to the Blackfish debacle of like however long ago that was. I was completely floored that it didn't even get the nomination. Like I couldn't believe like they just didn't even snag that. But then look what like it went on to do. Like SeaWorld has announced record like ticket sales drops in years. Every year it gets worse and worse, and they themselves have attributed it to that film, and even changed how Finding Dory was going to set up their story
That's
entirely.
right. That's right.
Like there's this whole thing is that always like one of those questions of sure maybe it didn't get nominated and it definitely didn't win, but it did like so there's so many documentaries that win Best Documentary that don't change what they talk about. Like we want to bring light to the situation, and the situation never changes. I'm like Blackfish may have not got the nomination, but it actually made change like it was intended to do.
I remember last year when Best Documentary Short went to the Kobe Bryant one.
That's because everybody loved the topic. It was a good topic. It was touching.
Does anyone give a damn about that now?
I think we forget. But that's the thing is I think Mr. Rogers actually is almost better. Like, sure, maybe he didn't get the nomination, but you know what? My sister saw that 3 times in theaters and
awesome.
cried every single time. And I think it's almost better that Maybe it didn't get the nomination, but I think it will live on in the hearts and minds of everyone, and
That's
it will
great- and I don't feel-
change, which is
I don't
probably the best
feel-
reward it can get.
And it's not necessarily like this. It's not necessarily challenging. It's just reaffirming beliefs. It's like, yeah, the guy you liked as a kid was
as good as he seemed.
as honest and as straightforward as he presented himself on television.
It's also kind of, I think, speaking to this current moment and saying, like, you know, this kind of idea of like, oh, we sure could use him now, you know?
Yeah,
Which is why
we could always use Mr. Rogers
we could
now.
always run
That's a
Tom
good.
Tom Hanks movie next year.
I was gonna say
He's gonna play Mr.
He's
Rogers.
gonna play Mr. Rogers. Yeah,
Oh,
yeah.
God.
America's
From
most
the
likable
direct-
actor
from the
playing
director of
America's
Can You
most.
Ever Forgive Me? Sure.
My heart can't take it.
Nor can mine.
It's gonna either be great or terrible. There's only two ways for it to go.
Let me tell you, I saw a set photo. He looks pretty darn good in the cardigan.
Which is funny because Colin Hanks played Mr. Rogers on Drunk History.
That's funny. I didn't know.
Okay,
Full circle.
I like Colin Hanks.
Me too.
He
I
seems
like
like
him
a
too.
good egg.
Can we end it on we like Colin Hanks because he's a good.
Let's say it in unison. 1, 2, 3. We
He's a good
like
egg.
Colin
Dang it.
Hanks. He's a good egg.
That's I'm more focused on the egg portion.
All right. Well, if you like this podcast, please click thumbs up and subscribe to our YouTube channel. Don't forget to like us on Facebook. Please follow us on Twitter at THO Movie Reviews. And please check out all the great reviews and content we have at thomoviereviews.wordpress.com. Once again, I'm your host, Bennett Campbell Ferguson, here at Rose City Coffee Co., Brooklyn Park, on a different day
Yep, very
Quote,
different day.
quote.
with Mo Shaunette and Maxwell Myers.
Well, time is relative. Einstein said time is relative, so maybe it is a different day.
Here, here, boom.
In this multiverse.
And bringing it really full circle back to Spider-Verse. From all of us here at THO Movie Reviews, we will see you on the red carpet.
Do you think they know that we're not actually going to be there?
They're gonna be
What are
real
you talking
disappointed.
about?